sitting down with Alvin.
That's perfect. All right, cool.
Okay.
Theresa.
Hi.
I'm here with Theresa. Did you want to share the thing about
Activist burnout?
And then we'll end on that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I work with a lot of young people,
Okay.
university students who are like, oh my God, there's so many things wrong with the world, climate change, gender inequality. And often there have been quite a few times when they would reach out to me personally and say, I'm not doing very well. Mental health wise, I have all this that I'm trying to do is really stressing me out. I don't have it together.
What's causing that?
I think it's a mix of huge expectations that they have put on themselves about what they want to be able to change. And also with a mix of other things that they have since neglected because they were so focused on activism, like family, health, their mental health also, their academics, all of these things like friendships, relationships, all of these things that are important for you to have a balanced person to be able to engage with the very difficult, important, energetic work that comes with trying to change something. So I think one thing that I would always tell them is, you know, the most control you can have over something is over yourself. And you are part of that society that you're trying so hard to change. If you're sick, then how do you think you're going to influence others and make them better? So I think that activism and want to create something better starts with yourself. And being very aware of how you're handling the stress or the kind of mental pressure you're putting on yourself to solve so many of these huge problems is something that we need to always keep in check in order to sustainably push for the things we want to push for.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think particularly for a lot of young people who might even be afraid of sharing that, at least they might know now that that is something that does happen. And as somebody who's been sort of fortunate enough to be campaigning with so many interesting and diverse and successful campaigners and advocates, I've seen it. And during the pandemic, as I mentioned earlier, sadly, a friend of mine who was a staunch kind of advocate against poverty. She wanted huge poverty reduction in the UK. She was a human rights campaigner. Unfortunately, she committed suicide during the pandemic, and that led to myself and many others around her to really think deeply about mental health generally, but also how we take care of each other as activists and campaigners. Because what I realised, particularly during the pandemic when we couldn't meet face to face, what I realised was a lot of people, a lot of us who've been driven to campaign and to fight for things have done so because of personal experiences in the world. As they say, the personal is political, the political is personal. And therefore you're bringing your own trauma to the public space. And actually what I recognised was we're in rooms with not only your own trauma but hundreds of people, if not thousands of people with the same trauma. That's a lot of trauma. And I realised that we need to really be aware of that, because sometimes it might mean we it leads to bad things and worse things, and it means if we don't recognise it, we're not solving something which is really in front of us. So your point about making sure we tend to ourselves to make sure if we're ill, we're sick, we take care of ourselves before we can take care of other things. We also need to recognise that we can support each other and we need to support each other for social change to really happen.
And it's okay to take a break at times, I think. Taking a break allows you to fight the longer fight. And I think I've seen activists feel guilty when they step out for a bit because they feel like others are doing all this and I'm not. But being in touch with your self-regulation is one of the most important things, I think, to be able to do that sustainably. Yeah. But I'm very sorry to hear about your friend. I think it's something that we all have to think about.
Yeah, I think, you know, her legacy lives on, and I think we celebrated her life. Her academic work stands, and her memory stands, and she's with us all the time in terms of her memory and the impact she had on us. But I hope that, without wanting to name her, knowing that people might hear this, they might reach out to people who, you know, may be in a similar situation.